This is a story about a young woman and her first foray into the world of baking, a journey she naively believed would be as simple as following a recipe. She decided to bake a cake, a classic vanilla sponge, picturing a light, fluffy creation that would rise effortlessly in the oven. The kitchen, usually a place for quick meals, was about to become her laboratory, her sanctuary, and her classroom. With a sense of excitement, she gathered her ingredients: a bag of flour, a carton of eggs, a block of butter, and a container of sugar. In her mind, the process was straightforward: mix everything together, pour it into a pan, and let the oven work its magic. She envisioned herself, apron tied neatly, pulling out a perfectly golden brown cake, the sweet aroma filling every corner of her home. The reality, she would soon discover, was far more intricate and demanding. Baking, as it turned out, was not just about ingredients. It was about precision, timing, and a deep respect for the process. It was a craft that demanded more than just a passing interest. It required a commitment to learning and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. Her initial confidence quickly began to wane as she confronted the first step: measuring the flour. The recipe called for a precise amount. Sifted, she scooped a measuring cup into the bag, leveling it off with a butter knife, but a cloud of fine white powder dusted her countertop, her clothes, and even the tip of her nose. She realized that even this seemingly simple action required a gentle hand and careful attention. Moving on to the eggs, she struggled to separate the yolks from the whites, a slippery, messy task that left her with more yolk in the white bowl than she intended. The butter needed to be softened to room temperature, a state she tried to rush by microwaving it, only to end up with a pool of melted liquid. Each instruction, each step, presented a new challenge, a small but significant hurdle that tested her resolve. The kitchen, once a symbol of her optimistic ambition, was now a landscape of spilled sugar, sticky counters, and a growing pile of used bowls and utensils. The easy breezy image she had in her head was replaced by the chaotic, frustrating reality of a novice baker at work. She learned that baking was a science, a form of edible chemistry where every gram mattered and every temperature had a purpose. It was a dance of ingredients, and she was still learning the steps. As the lumpy, uneven batter was finally poured into the cake pan and placed in the preheated oven, a new kind of challenge emerged: the wait. The recipe instructed her to bake for 35 minutes, a period that stretched into what felt like an eternity. She found herself pacing in front of the oven, peering through the small glass window, watching for any sign of transformation. It was in these quiet, anxious moments that she began to understand a deeper lesson. Baking was an exercise in patience. It was about trusting the process, letting go of control, and allowing time and heat to work their combined magic. She couldn't rush the cake, couldn't force it to rise faster or brown quicker. All she could do was wait, hope, and trust that her earlier efforts, clumsy as they were, would yield something worthwhile. The rhythmic ticking of the kitchen timer became a metronome, marking the slow, steady progress of her creation. This period of forced stillness taught her that some of the most beautiful transformations in life happen when we step back and simply allow them to unfold. The anticipation, mixed with a healthy dose of doubt, was an essential part of the experience, making the final outcome all the more meaningful. The timer finally chimed, breaking the silence. With oven mitts on, she carefully pulled the cake from the heat. It wasn't the picture-perfect masterpiece she had imagined. One side was slightly higher than the other, and a small crack had formed across the top. It was, by all objective measures, an imperfect cake. But as the warm, sweet smell of vanilla and baked sugar enveloped her, none of that seemed to matter. The aroma itself was a reward, a fragrant testament to her effort. She let it cool before slicing a small piece. The texture was a little dense, not quite the airy sponge she had aimed for, but it was soft, moist, and undeniably cake. In that first bite, she tasted more than just flour and sugar. She tasted her own persistence, the frustration she had overcome, and the small victory she had won in her kitchen. The feeling of accomplishment was profound. She had started with a simple idea and, through a series of trials and errors, had created something real, something tangible, something she could share. Through this simple, imperfect baking adventure, she discovered a profound truth. The real joy wasn't found in achieving a flawless result, but in the journey of creation itself. It was in the dusty flour on her cheek, the sticky batter on her fingers, and the anxious minutes spent watching the oven. She learned that the most valuable experiences in life often come not from success, but from the effort we invest, the patience we cultivate, and the courage we summon to try something new, even when we are afraid of failing. Her first cake was more than just a dessert. It was a symbol of her own growth, a reminder that the beauty of life lies in embracing the process, imperfections and all.